Disclaimer: this was originally supposed to be an Omnioculus video, but somehow it turned into Jay trying to make Foetracer do literally anything other than be a waste of perfectly good fucking ones and zeros in this godforsaken game.
Full disclosure here, Foetracer fucking sucks. That's not a secret, I shouldn't even have to say that. It's just a fact, that's why nobody uses it. The most you'll see it is in the Crucible, but even then, it's a lot like stumbling across a winning lottery ticket. The odds of it are so vehemently low that it doesn't even matter, especially when there's 2 pages worth of hunter exotics that are just better in general. And even if it was frequently used and it wasn't worth less than the oxygen required just to say its name, it still wouldn't matter because there are exotics that outperform it in nearly every way. In conclusion, why is this even in the fucking game? Regardless, I did some digging. See, I'm a firm believer that every exotic in Destiny has some sort of purpose, whether it be passing the butter,
oh my god,
or ripping holes in the space-time continuum. Either or, kinda depends on the day. I get bored easily. What I managed to find wasn't exactly a gem by any means, but I still thought it might make for a slightly less miserable video experience than normal. So let's get this over with so I can move on to something that'll actually generate new traffic on this channel. I can't hear you! La 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 la! This is going to be a shorter video. Calling this a build would just be an insult to my own work. It's a concept that further reinforces my point from earlier that every exotic has some sort of purpose in the game on a mechanical level, even if you have to strong-arm it into submission. But it's been a minute since I've released anything on my hunter, so consider this a small break from the Battle Harmony extravaganza that's been taking place on this channel over the past month. Fuck, I needed a break from that. We're starting with skill trees, as always. Middle tree Night Stalker for only a single ability, and even then, with the right mod, you can basically just kind of go with whatever element or skill tree you want. It honestly doesn't matter. But for the sake of organization, we're defaulting to Night Stalker. Shattering Strike. This is a weaken debuff, one that is extremely useful in PvE because it allows you to debuff just about anything you want, whenever you want, as many times as you want. You trigger Flawless Execution by getting a critical kill while crouched. It'll turn you invisible, give you wall hacks, and increase melee range for around 8 seconds or so. But while you're invisible, slapping something on the mouth triggers a weaken debuff called Shattering Strike. Until the timer on Flawless Execution runs dry, you can slap anything you want and it will be weakened. As previously mentioned, Foetracer is a worthless sack of garbage in anything other than just the Crucible, and even then, it could probably still be better. It feels more like a PvP exotic than anything else, meant for clutch encounters or cleanups, so as one would expect, it's little more than spare parts outside of the arenas. In essence, Foetracer provides a tracker on targets you're engaging, kinda like One-Eyed Mask, but the damage buff only triggers when a target is below 30% health. The buff increases your damage by 1% for every percent of health that's missing from the target in question once said target is under that 30% health threshold. To give an example, an enemy with 10% health left is going to take 20% extra damage from you. Conversely, attack a target at 26% health and you're only hitting 4% harder than you normally would. It sounds like it would be awesome. I'm here to tell you that it is not. Not by itself at the very least. And that's why we need Dead Man's Tale, because it has a natural crit bonus that stacks on itself up to 5 times. It's called Cranial Spike and it's nasty regardless of what side of the game you're currently in, be it PvE or PvP. Snapshot Sight sounds a lot like something that would be considered a PvP god roll, quote unquote. I wouldn't really know because I don't wade through the PvP cesspool unless absolutely necessary, but if you're carrying it out into PvE instances of any kind, the crit bonus stacks beautifully with 4th times a charm. Outlaw is just dumb because the gun already speeds up its own loading time when Cranial Spike stacks. I guess maybe that could be a PvP thing? Who knows? Not me, that's for sure. We're gonna need some mods next, but only a couple. Specifically, High Energy Fire and Taking Charge. Charged up if you got the space for it, and stacks on stacks for the double charge when you pick up an orb. And if you really wanted to, honestly I have no idea who would willingly suffer through this aside from myself because it's a part-time job for me at this point. Precision Charge, for charges on rapid critical kills. Honestly, that's all there really is to this. It's just a miserable little experiment I decided to do because I hate myself instead of taking a look at Omnioculus like I was supposed to. Sundering Glare is the more practical mod for this season since we're talking about a scout rifle, and weakening something from far away is significantly less dangerous than trying to slap it in the neck. 9 times out of 10, you'll just get stomped away and you'll be waiting on recovery, so if you can afford Sundering Glare, do that instead. To show off an example, we're here on Europa in the Concealed Void. Like I said, this is not a build video, so I'm not doing any super testing. I just wanted to see if the mechanics could even work together. I'm already aware this isn't even relevant come endgame, because, you know, Foetracer. In a nutshell, this is just a buff stack. 3 active stacking buffs on top of a singular passive bonus provided by Foetracer. Yes, they do stack. Yes, I have footage to prove that they do. Yes, I regret spending precious time of my life that I will never get back recording said footage, and no, I do not have that same sense of fulfillment I get from releasing this video like I do with any other release. Because, you know, Foetracer. If there's anything in my life that I wish I hadn't done, it's this. There is an order to the buff stacking here. It makes it easier. You always want to make sure that you've got at least 2 charges of light before anything else, because you want to trigger high energy fire. Once you've got that stacked, your next step is to trigger flawless execution, aka critical kills while crouched. This will consume a charge. You'll turn invisible, and now you can stab something, yada yada yada. You get what I mean. That's where Dead Man's Tale fits into the equation here, and Cranial Spike starts to stack. But this is where it starts to get slightly interesting. All of these buffs stack together, as I said earlier, but the damage numbers are consistently rising. By the end of the damage stack, Dead Man's Tale was hitting for 15.5k every shot. Now, this isn't anything overbearingly crazy or whatnot, because we've seen damage numbers that are astronomically higher than this in the past, but the fact that a scout rifle can crit this hard is a marvel. As a result, I spent a lot of time working with different legendary guns and exotics, but at the end of the day, the only one that was seemingly buffed at all, enough for it to really matter, was Dead Man's Tale. So if you're trying to maximize your damage with Dead Man's Tale specifically, this is the strategy for you. If you're not trying to use a kinetic slot against a boss, unless it's Izanagi, you're smart. In short, there is a bonus that can be worked with here, and it's interesting to see it in action, but the gains don't justify the means and the preparation that goes into setting up the combo for optimal damage. It just isn't enough, and it never will be. Not with the state that the exotic is currently in. Not when there are countless other exotics that can do even more with less effort, like Celestial Nighthawk, for example, or the Mask of Baccharis. Now, I'm not going to sit here and yammer on about how this is allegedly great, because I honestly can't make heads or tails of it. Part of me thinks that this is something that could be taken advantage of in PvE, and another part of me is well aware that Foetracer isn't worth the energy invested to maximize it, regardless as to whether or not it offers a decent bonus to Dead Man's Tale in conjunction with multiple mods and a subclass ability. As I said, this was just a little side experiment. You stack your buffs and it allows for a single weapon out of an entire arsenal that we have at our disposal to shine through significantly brighter than it already does. Again, this is a fun gimmick, but it just isn't enough. In short, Foetracer still sucks, even with the 300% Dead Man's Tale damage increase. There is some potential here, but I really feel like I could use some love on the PvE side of things. Rant over, me in my cell, goodbye. Maybe now I can avoid that Omnioculus video with something else.
You didn't finish the first series that you started.
Don't you do this to me. Do not say it.
It's waiting for you, Jay. Mantle of
Shut up! Shut up! Shut the fuck!